Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I'm back with the next part of my Complete Run Madness review of my Complete Run of Usagi Yojimbo. In the previous videos, I've shown Albedo's and the Critters issues. I showed all 38 issues from the original Fantagraphics run, all 16 issues of the Mirage run. So today we're starting the biggest run of them all, which is Dark Horse. So today I'm going to show you Dark Horse 1 through 50. Now, I've said this before, I got all the entire run before I read them. So I got all, at that time, it was like 200 and whatever it was, 230 issues or something. And I read them all at once. So it's a little bit hard for me to remember which individual stories are where. It all sort of blends into one incredible epic. But I will say that for me, this is the best part of the series. I think Dark Horse Run issues 1 to 50, like he really hit his stride. And I would go all the way up to 100. But in particular, these first 50 have some great stuff. And one of the reasons that I'm back with more Usagi Yojimbo, I love the fantasy aspects, the swords, and sometimes there's even some sorcery. And so it seemed like a good time to revisit it because my sword and sorcery epic fantasy comic quest is going to be coming out on Kickstarter on Monday. So I've been thinking a lot about the comics that inspire me, and I wanted to go back to Usagi Yojimbo and continue this because every time I read one of these stories, it inspires me to do more cool comics and do better comics than I've done before. So that's one of the reasons why I'm getting into this. The link for quest number 2 is in the notes down below, and if you missed issue 1, don't worry, you'll be able to get both of them. But let's get back to Usagi Yojimbo, the whole reason we're here. So we're going to jump in, and one thing that's interesting is this was the longest run in the series. With Dark Horse, this Dark Horse run went up to, I forget exactly what number it ended on, but it's like 170 something. So this is a long run. So today I'll be doing issues 1 to 50. But when it originally started, as we'll see here, it wasn't necessarily intended to be an ongoing series. After the end of the Mirage run, went over to Dark Horse. You can see here, as with my other first issues, I do have it signed and remarked by Stan Sakai. But right up here in the corner, you can see it says Usagi Yojimbo 1 of 3. So this is similar, I guess, in some ways to like Transformers at Marvel, where you get to issue 4 and it turns out the story doesn't end there and it becomes an ongoing series with issue 5, right? Well, the same sort of thing happens here because here we have Usagi Yojimbo 2 of 3. Cover here that's very reminiscent of his first appearance in Albedo, number 2. And then we have Usagi Yojimbo 3 of 3. Really cool covers. We'll see more of this, but some of these covers he starts to use more of a wash. I want to say gray wash. It's not really that process, but more of almost like a watercolor or colored pencil, sort of softer look. And it's really cool. And then as you can see, well, we just start right in issue 4. Issue 5. Here's a cover that feels various. I think something about the colors feels very much like the Mirage run with the color choices. Issue 7, classic dual cover. And so much of it is given to the sky in the background. There's a lot of interesting, I'm colorblind, but I can see that there's, stuff going on here with clouds and different variations of the coloring. I think the full effect is probably lost on me, but it looks really cool. 8. Number 9. I wish I had a little bit more to say about the individual issues. But like I said, it all sort of blends together, although we're coming up on a very famous story here that's easy to remember because it says it right on the cover. Here's another one of these covers that has that sort of like colored pencil, gray wash, like watercolor look to it, and it's really striking. It's a great cover. This is issue 10, so really excellent cover here. 11. 12. And here's a story that I was talking about. It's a multi-part, maybe the most famous of the stories from Usagi Yojimbo is Grass Cutter. Check out this awesome cover here with these dragons. This is the first time, I think, in the series that they've had the subtitle for the storyline. There's 14. Really interesting to see him in the armor like that. 15, which has, as you can see, has Jay in it. I'm not my favorite character. I've said that before, but this is kind of a fan favorite. 16. My copy actually has a big bend in it for some reason. 17, as you can see, it's a long story. Really cool cover. I like the way that the coloring has been done differently so that he really pops out. 18. 19, and you can see from the covers that this has all of the, it's like the whole cast. It's got Gen, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's got Tomoe. It's got everybody. 20. 21. 22. So a very long story. And again, even though Jay's not my favorite, one of the best stories. When people talk about, their favorite Usagi's, there's Grass Cutter is almost always up there. 23. 24. 25. Interesting to see him sort of on a ship in different outfits. Things we don't see, that often in the series. 26. Nighttime cover. For me, again, because of the color blindness, I wish that it was more of a contrast. It's all a little bit dark for me, so I like to have the higher contrast. And I could say that about actually a lot of these. $28. 29. 30's got an unusual sort of comedy cover, very different sort of tone, where the Scarecrow is dressed up and Usagi doesn't seem to find it nearly as funny as the kid does. Notice there's a change in the trade dress here, corner box. Here's this classic Dark Horse Comics logo. And then with issue 30, it changes to this, which says Dark Horse Maverick. And when they do that, they also change the rest of it too. So different font with the numbers. And then this one has a thing that says Usagi Yojimbo 29 that doesn't have that on this one. So I find that sort of stuff maybe more interesting than other people do. 31. 32. 33. So this is interesting. Here he is. He's making a clay pot. Now, one thing that's cool about the series is that Stan Sakai has focus issues where he basically is sort of teaching about different aspects of sort of classic Japanese culture, different crafts and stuff. There's issues focused on the kites. There's a very famous issue which will be in the next one. I think it's issue 93, which is all about the tea ceremony. There's issues about how they make the tatami, the woven like mats that they use. And this one is about pottery. So it's very interesting to me. You know, I love history stuff and art stuff, but it's also interesting as sort of a change of pace for the series. And I think it adds quite a bit of depth to the series. That it never has been just sort of a hack and slash, but what you really rounds, like, he covers a lot of different things, different aspects of life, and so when we do have the swords and stuff, and the fighting and the action, it has a broader context that's richer. So I really appreciate that. 34. 35. There's a multi-part story here, but this one, unlike Grass Cutter, isn't flagged as such, because we got the guy with the mask here. Here he is on the cover. He's up on the roof. And then in 36, he's on that one as well. 37, really scary spider demon lady. 38, Usagi and his friends looking stern and mean. And then with 39, some really cool designs on these covers. It's Grass Cutter 2, another famous story. But with these, this is kind of the first time we've really seen this in the series, where he has this special cover design for this saga, right? Where we've got this strip here on this side. It's this artwork, but it's blown up and then it's made sort of monochrome or monotone, I guess is the right word. And then the image is inside the smaller frame, smaller logo off to the side, and the thing here. So it has a very striking thing. And then we have the thing that says prologue, and then we have this little button here. And what does the little button say? Usagi Yojimbo 100th issue. So that's really the only celebration, this being issue 100, is this little button that says it's issue 100. But, you know, it's also the first issue of the Grass Cutter 2 story. So that seems like a good way to sort of celebrate. I wish they had sort of done more. But it's a big milestone issue, with the 100th issue of Usagi Yojimbo. And as I've mentioned before, the inside of the comics do track the overall series issue number. Issue 1 is, and I talked at length about this before, but it's the Usagi Yojimbo Summer Special 1 from 1986. It's not issue 1 of the Fantagraphics series. That's number 2 in the ongoing numbering. Anyway, Grass Cutter 2, Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Interesting choice of colors for the logo, for the text down here. It's not a solid color in the logo either. It's very subtle for me. Maybe it pops out more for other people, but it's a very subtle color scheme, which I find interesting. Chapter 5. The Bat Ninjas return. Chapter 6. And now we're almost to issue 50. But before we get there, we get this cool multi-part story here. Issue 46 has this wraparound cover where everyone's out flying kites. And it's got like the whole cast of the series on it. So if you turn it around, it's got this. But then it actually continues. This isn't just like a wraparound cover. It actually connects the back cover here. It connects to the next issue. Here's the back cover. And then it connects here, issue 47. And then this actually is a wraparound cover as well. So it's got the whole cast of the series in 4 huge panels. It reminds me of the issues of Strange Tales with S.H.I.E.L.D. With Nick Fury, where Jim Steranko did a 4-page spread. So instead of a double spread, it was 4 pages. There was, and they had they had a little note from the editor, from Stan Lee, saying that you should go out and buy 2 copies so you can put them all together. This one's a little easier to do because you already have 2 copies because it's spread over 2 issues. 48. $49. And finally we have issue 50, which is interesting. Mine is signed right here. But I don't think that's Stan Sakai's signature. And I don't remember who it is. It's not Tom Luth, because I've never met him. Let me look inside and see if I can figure it out. I mean, I have no idea. I can only guess that maybe, it would almost have to be Stan Sakai, right? Except it's definitely not the same signature as we had on issue 1. So here's the signature on issue 1. There's a signature on issue 50. I can almost convince myself that this is just an earlier signature and this is him having simplified it later. Because they both have that curving S at the beginning and a second curve a little bit in. So maybe, I don't think I got this one signed. I think this might have been already signed when I bought it. This one I had signed in person because I had him sign the first issues. I had him sign the summer special and then issues 1 of all 3 of the ongoing series at the time that I met him. So the 50, I think it's possible that was just an earlier signature someone else got signed. But there it is, Usagi Yojimbo number 1 through 50. I've got a lot more of these coming, of course. Still have 3 more videos just from the Dark Horse series, and then we'll have the whole IDW run after that. So there's going to be 4 more series before we get to the complete Usagi Yojimbo, showing all of them. Sorry I didn't have more insight about these. But as I mentioned, it all sort of blends together. But hopefully you still enjoyed looking at the covers and seeing the great artwork from Stan Sakai. Great series, obviously. And getting to the point where they're really getting up there in numbers. I think they're up to issue close to 270 now, I think. So I'll be curious to see if they do more in a few years when he gets to issue 300 than he did for 100. But for now, that's it. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time.